Well, we're back to where it all started.
Except we're swapped.
We need to fix this.
Alright, excuse me. I gotta get around here. Okay, cool.
Welcome back to TV Recap. I'm Jack.
And I'm Sallow, or 10,000 Days of Sodom.
And you're watching TV Recap, and we're finally gonna do it. We're going to review Moby Dick. No, just kidding. We're going back to Knight Rider, where it all began.
God.
So I was looking at our videos, and we haven't done Knight Rider since 2019.
I wonder why.
Yeah, we had Star Trek. We had Star Wars. We had Has-Been Motel. And I think that was it. There's probably something else that I'm forgetting.
I think those are the ones, because I know during when 2020 you were covering the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, when the last season of Clone Wars came out.
Yeah, I was obviously at home suffocating myself with a pillow.
Yeah, and as were we all during the pandemic, but it's time to go back. And also I want to make a note. This box set is terrible. It easily falls apart. David Hasselhoff's face is like crunched. Whoever owns the rights to Knight Rider, Universal, please make a Blu-ray box set of Knight Rider. I will gladly trade this in for that. There probably is.
There probably is, and we're not just like, I mean, it probably came out in 2020 when we weren't
paying attention. But we actually, Tori and I, just as a cheap plug-in, this episode was sponsored by two things. These beautiful diffusers that we have. And this is also brought to you by Criterion, because Tori and I went to get some Criterion videos. Tori's is in the car where it's being cooked alive by the sun.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's in my glove compartment where it's being cooked alive inside the glove compartment.
And what did you get, Tori? That's Sallow, right?
Yeah, so I did get Sallow, or 120 Days of Sodom.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great film. I would highly recommend everyone watching it. There are some things, not really for the kids, but it's a good family film overall. Mm-hmm. As Dominic Torero from Fast and Furious said, it's not about the film, it's about family.
I, on the other hand, decided not to get Sallow. I got Charade with Cary Grant and my beloved Audrey Hepburn. And I was torn between this and The Blob, which is an obvious film you want on Criterion. But
I don't want it.
Yeah, no one wants Blob on Criterion. Why is The Blob doing on Criterion? The truth be told, I have no idea what this episode's about.
Before we even started, I said oh yeah, we're only on episode 7. And then Jack clarified that we did 2 episodes after that.
Yeah.
And I went, what? We're on 10 now?
Yep, we're on 10.
So
it's the 10th episode anniversary, and we have nothing planned. Let's get started. TV Recap, Knight Rider's back. This is clearly from Knight Rider. Roll out.
Ka-chow.
And we're back with Disney Pixar's Knight Rider Inside Out. No joke, that's the name of the title, Inside Out. And I think Tori and I agree, this episode is kind of lackluster.
Very boring until, I would say, probably the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even remember the other ones, but we were thinking to ourselves yeah, the other ones were absolutely outrageous and ridiculous with Well,
this was certainly ridiculous.
Well, yeah, but it's not as ridiculous as a biker gang stalking a town.
Yeah.
It's not as ridiculous as Knight and Kid fighting a bull. It's not as ridiculous as Car in an evil kid. This may be the boring one. Yeah, I think this might be the boringest episode we've seen.
I agree. We should probably start. This one begins in the middle of a fight between a guy named Dugan and Michael inside Kit. Yeah, that sounded weird.
That's Inside Out.
Yeah, that's why it's called Inside Out.
We find out the reason why they're fighting. So Devin told him to take Dugan in, so that way they can go. So that way Michael Knight can go undercover
as Dugan
in this cold secret society, not society.
It's like it feels like a terrorist or criminal organization. There's a guy named Colonel Kincaid who has this weird kind of military obstacle course cult thing.
Well, we'll get to the obstacle course, but Michael Knight goes undercover as Dugan at this place. They're like, be there at 3 p.m.
Also, we should mention this is the first episode Bonnie where she filmed her episode, because when we see the intros to Knight Rider, we see clips of like Devin, Michael Knight, and Bonnie. The clips that are used for Bonnie come from this episode. This was the first you found out. This is the first episode she was filmed in. She definitely does have this flirtatious kind of Moneypenny James Bond relationship.
Yeah, but I don't think anything has happened yet.
Nothing.
But I don't think anything will. But we
probably not. He goes undercover, and this guy to work for this guy named Kincaid, who they say everyone who's tried to take him down ends up basically dead.
Yeah.
And he looks very much like Sean Connery.
We said it's like Sean Connery and Ben Kingsley were together, or if Sean Connery, all the hair up top of his head went down to his beard. That's pretty much what this guy looked like. Mm-hmm. So there's this guy with a mustache, one of his henchmen. He thinks that he's not Dugan.
Well, he immediately just takes a disliking to Dugan, especially when Michael Knight flips him over and he lands in a little pond, and I'm like, oh no, mustache is wet.
Kincaid was like, okay, you could make sure you go get your suit up and you stay in your room. There's like curfew. If you go outside, you'll get shot. There's a phone tap. Like everything's like pretty much wired. And then he ends up meeting this girl or this.
Do you remember her name? Because I don't.
I don't.
We're gonna call her Girl.
She said that she did gymnastics. That's like her backstory that we get to find out later on. But she's a gymnast.
Yeah, and she's basically there not for the money, but she's being blackmailed into working there.
Because she was a gymnast, and the reason why she was a gymnast was because her father was paying for it with dirty money, and so she ends up. It's a weird, complicated situation.
No offense, the actress is good, but it's just we're calling her Girl because one, I can't remember her name for the life of me, and two, this is kind of a cliche with the Knight Rider. Kind of like, again, James Bond, there's the Bond girl, there's the Michael Knight girl.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going on in these, so I apologize, they're kind of interchangeable to an extent. That sounds very mean. That sounds mean to say, but it's kind of the truth.
Well, I think like with every girl on the Knight Rider show, there's always a personality to each one of them.
Yeah.
With this one, she had none. I feel like she was just very bland.
But I don't think it's the actress's fault.
No, it's not. I'm not saying her. It's the writing, which I want to get to that. Interesting enough, this episode was written by a man named, I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong, but Stephen E. De Souza. This was written in 1982. And then a couple years later, in 1985, this man would end up being one of the writers for Commando.
Oh, okay.
And also in 1988, the guy who also wrote Die Hard.
So he has a penchant for action, but this one seemed less action-y, and we'll get to that. But also, there's another thing we should mention is it doesn't really come into play that much. It does. But they introduce a new ability of Kit, where he can disrupt electrical fields, basically. They bring that up at the beginning, and we're like, oh, that's foreshadowing. Devin wants Michael to bring Kincaid down, and while Michael's there, we get to the obstacle course, which is the most ludicrous thing. Like I said, it's like if the Three Stooges were in charge of a criminal organization.
That's like, pretty much what it is.
There's weird beanbag throwing things, there's cars throwing beanbags into...
No, not only that, but there was like people hanging upside down while they're throwing beanbags at them.
There's a weird beanbag fetish in this organization.
But the interesting one was for us to just see what the girl was gonna do for this. So her obstacle was that she's a gymnast and she's supposed to wiretap the door if it were to move, but the guy literally, or the colonel, like was shooting through the pillar where she was, And then she's like, oh, I can't keep being with this person and all that. So Michael Knight, they end up going like outside a lot, and they like meet up with each other. And she says she doesn't know that he's Michael Knight yet. She thinks that it's Dugan. And what's interesting is that she makes up a fake story to Dugan or Michael Knight, and Michael Knight's like, oh yeah, we didn't do that. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't like this and that. But later on, we find out that she was actually lying and making up a story.
Quickly backtrack. There is something about the obstacle course I do want to bring up. It's
doing an obstacle.
Yes, it is, because they try to do an impressive kid stunt like they normally do, where they want him to jump a ramp with the car, and he's like, move it further, and it's just not well executed.
It's just boring. It's like
there's no dramatic music either. I don't think.
No, there's nothing. It's just move the thing back.
Yeah.
All right, then let's drive. That's all it is. It's just that quick, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, how lame could we get?
And meanwhile, Dugan, who's been locked, instead of being secured with someone supervising him, or at the Knight estate, or somewhere, because they explain why they can't put him in a prison, because he'd be recognized. It's kind of ludicrous, but he escapes by making a makeshift bomb. But meanwhile, they cut back now and then to him trying to escape, and he's acting like an animal.
Yeah, he's like, and then they like already have a pre-cut circle ready, and they just like, where he breaks the glass, and it's like a circle.
I don't think he even has a line. He just makes
he just makes noises.
Yeah, he's like the Frankenstein monster.
Pretty much. I mean, they did make a Frankenstein joke. Like they're like, "How's Frankenstein?"
Yeah, which is weird because it's the Frankenstein monster, but whatever.
Oh my god, here we go.
Yeah. There also another thing that should be mentioned is we'll get to it. Is these at the beginning? There's two cops who see Dugan, Michael, and Kit fighting, and they go over the speed limit. And they're like, oh golly, Andy, he's over the... I'm going to make an Andy Griffith reference. He's going over the speed limit. Oh my god, oh.
But the funny part is when they bring them back, and then...
Because Kit needs to get information to Devin. Sorry about that. They need to get information to Devin because Michael thinks he's figured out Kincaid's plan, which is to break people out of a prison.
But that's not the case.
Yeah, but we'll get there. So he gets this information to Kit, and Kit uses his power. They can't call Devin right then and there because everything's being tapped, like you said. So they have to get Kit out of the estate to warn Devin. And he uses this radiostatic ability to disrupt the security camera, sets fire to it. This guy's like, oh crap.
Yeah, and then Kit leaves. He goes, this is where the cops come back.
Yeah. So
in order for him to get to Devin, he had to get through the cops. And the cops are like, I think they're looking for the same car, or I don't know what they're doing.
Well, no. There was I think they even say this is a result of the trailer being caught on fire. They're talking about, they're trying to tell people that you need to go around. And keep in mind, when they're talking to other passengers, they're looking into the passenger door to look at the drivers. But when Kit goes up, they conveniently don't look in. They're just like, so, do you know where so-and-so is? And Kit is telling where, but they never look into the driver's. I was expecting
Kit ends up going, and then they went, that was the damn car! And they're like, did you see who was inside? And they're like, they're like, oh. Kit goes and talks to Devin and tells them to meet them over at this maximum security prisons because that's what the plan was. However, in a really weird twist, the Colonel is actually trying to steal, what, $12 million in gold?
Because he loves gold!
Exactly.
He's gold member.
It's gold member. And the thing is, the dude isn't even that... the villain is not scary.
He's not. He's actually kind of comical.
He's just like... He seems like he's like... It's like if I were to come up to you and I'm like threatening you...
I'd laugh.
And then I'd walk away. Yeah, it's just like, what the heck?
No offense, Troy, but I'd laugh.
Yeah, it's like that kind of a joke.
But the night before the heist happens, the real Dugan breaks in and is knocked out by Mustache Man. Because that's what he effectively is, Mustache Man. Yeah. They do the mission, and it's really ridiculous.
The mission...
I mean, it's the highlight of the episode.
Yeah, it's the best part of the episode because nothing happened at all.
That was worth anything. Nothing
happened. I'm just saying right now, nothing happened unless the last 15 minutes. And even then, I was like, oh, let's see if there's anything, like, joking-wise. Oh, let's see. There's a joke where, there's a goof where, Linda!
Yeah, that's her name?
Linda, she ends up, that's the girl's name, the gymnast. She ends up fucking up. The car swerved out. So, in order for them to get the gold, Michael has to get in there, and he puts him on autopilot. Linda hops in the driver's seat, and then we see her reaction go, whoa, it's driving. And then it cuts to Michael Knight, like, getting into the van, but it shows her getting back into the driver's seat again.
There's a goof, right?
It's a big goof.
Michael effectively gets the gold, and they're like, come here, Mr. Dugan. Not you. The real Mr. Dugan. And Dugan shows up, still not saying a word. It's like, I liked you, son. Really? Well, I thought you were a jerk, Michael says to Kincaid.
They're about to execute him.
Linda stalls for time by saying the gold is fake, but it's not. And a really lame fight breaks out. Like, Dugan comes with a karate kick out of nowhere.
No, he doesn't even karate kick. He drop kicks Michael Knight into the van.
Michael stops him, takes a gun, says, everyone stop, even though Kincaid has like a machine gun.
Well, we forgot about when Kid shows up.
Oh, yeah. So, here we go, you take this.
So this is where I think they actually hurt somebody on set.
If not, it's very convincing.
Kid is coming into the rescue, making sure like everybody's cool and shit. And he runs over a guy. And he does it's pretty convincing that they might have hurt that dude, that stuntman on set. He may have been dead, he may have been injured, we don't know. I think they killed him. I'm just gonna believe that they did. No offense to the families out there, but I think they killed him.
They died for art.
They died for art.
During this, Devin has assumed that they were going to attack the prison, so there's a whole team meant to guard anyone from attacking it. No one has showed up, and Devin's getting chewed out. All of a sudden, Kit, Michael, and Linda show up, and Devin's yelling at Michael, and Michael opens the back of the truck, and it's Kincaid, Mustache Man, and everyone,
his goons,
and everyone else, Mr. Dugan and all that. And it's like, I'd like to introduce you to Kincaid. It's like, oh, you saved me a bunch of paperwork, Michael.
And
it just ends. It just ends. There's no like epilogue. There's no, we don't know what happens to Linda. He doesn't even drive out into the sunset with Linda like he does with everyone else. He's like, whatever.
Well, most of them they don't even drive out. He drives out alone.
Oh, well, I mean, sometimes
he doesn't even get a cheeseburger.
I know.
No burgers or anything that he wanted.
It's just nothing.
Nothing happened in this episode.
What an interesting one to come back to.
Yeah, it's kind of like when we go to when we come back from a G Thanks Disney episode and it's just boring.
Yeah.
Or it's just mediocre and we're just like, oh shit, that's right.
The worst thing Knight Rider can possibly be is boring.
And we probably hit that mark.
I'm sure there'll be more. Not every.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Not every episode can be as great as Michael fighting a bull.
Or Michael fighting a gang
of bikers.
Like a gang of bikers, which
that
we
one
need
is
Brandon back.
Which we need Brandon back, because that was probably the peak of Knight Rider entertainment right there.
Yeah.
Oh, it takes two to tango, Tori.
But 3 is a tree.
That was Inside Out. I recommend you stick with the Disney film over this.
Yeah.
Those are my final thoughts on the episode. Tori, do you have anything?
This one was boring. This one may be the boringest one we've seen thus far.
Yeah.
I mean...
There's probably one we thought was boring. I can't remember. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, I don't even remember a lot of them that we've done.
So. The ones that we remember are great entertainment because we keep referencing car, we keep referencing the ball, we keep referencing the bikers. This one we're not going to remember.
And I'm going to remember it in T-minus 2 minutes.
The only time we'll remember it is when we're comparing another boring episode to this.
Probably, yeah.
We're gonna be
even then, I'll probably not even remember.
We'll be
this
like,
episode.
what's the one with the beanbags?
Oh,
that's what we'll say. But yeah, kind of lackluster. But hey, at least we're back with more TV recap Knight Rider.
Yeah.
So remember, us two. One man can make a difference. Us two.
could just sit and watch all of your Knight Rider episodes for you.
Because somebody's got to do it.
I'm pretty sure somebody's done it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing it again.
Yeah. Take care.
Go get a cheeseburger.
Yeah.